Hello everyone, welcome to Scorched Earth Toys at anymoon.com, special on the evolution of grenade box protection or GBP parts for VF1 Valkyrie toys. I've amassed a collection here of the more deluxe version of GBP toys, starting with Takatoku's 155 scale GBP. Then we have Yamato's version 1/160. This was available starting in May of 2004 for 3,900 yen as a standalone accessory, or 9,800 yen including the VF1J Hikaru. Then we have Yamato's 148 scale GBP accessory. That, just as an accessory, cost 12,600 yen and was available in December 2005. There were repaints that Yamato did. There was the June 2006 Woodland accessory, which is a green GBP. And then there was the Urban Camo, which is a gray, green, yellow. And that was in July of 2007. Then we have Yamato's version 2 160 GBP. This was available starting in May of 2000, or actually December 2009. They released the combo kit with the VF1J. That cost 16,800 yen. And then in May of 2010, you were able to get the GBP as a standalone accessory. I'm going to go through one by one and kind of show you what has progressed over the years. Largely to address the differences between the underlying toys, there are significant differences in how these parts attach to the toys themselves. On the original Takatoku, the chest and waist area is all one part. And that's because there's not a whole lot going on in the underlying toy. So you can open up the back, you put on the back of the clamshell, you can click it shut again. It's not going anywhere now. And then you can just kind of pinch the front of the clamshell on and it connects via two tabs on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And boom. So now the main part of the armor is attached to the toy. On the version 1 toy, there's a separate chest piece that connects and goes up to the bottom of the cockpit, and the reason for that is there's a waist swivel that isn't on the original Takatoku toys. So instead, what Yamato had to do is create for the leg. I have a few different parts here. So there's a top of the leg armor that simply attaches over the intake. And there's also a crotch armor that slides in behind and pinches in front. Now this is the weakest part of the Yamato V1 design because it doesn't really attach securely enough and often falls apart when handling the toy. But there you are. So that is how the diaper comes together on the version 1/160 toys. Now the leg armor on the Takatoku, again, same idea, just one piece in the rear and then another piece from the front, and it just clicks into place like so. Yamato got a little fancier. They gave us opening missile bays that the Takatoku does not have. It just has the molded shape there. They gave us opening missile bays on the side of the leg as well, front and back. And they gave us a 3-part design to help. It also helps reduce one of the seam lines, but again, it's what makes it so you can have the opening missile bays in the back. So let's get this figured out. It's actually a 4-part design if you include the kneecap. So it goes on something like that. Obviously easier to do without lights. And then the kneecap just slides on top to link it all together. Like so. So there you go. Okay. The Takatoku toys have larger shoulders. This is a Bandai reissue, but larger shoulders. So you can just fit the shoulder missile bay right on top of the existing shoulder, and it kind of pinches around the round part of the shoulder. For Yamato, they gave you a sleeve to give you a bigger shoulder look. And then the missile bay goes on top of that. For Takatoku, you just slide on the arm armor. For Yamato, you pinch it on, kind of like you did with the Takatoku's leg design, just like so. And then on the Takatoku, you have pylons that pinch. So let's turn this guy around, bring this up, and then pinch the pylons into place, like so. There's your completed Takatoku. For Yamato, you can see it's a little less stable here. You can also see I didn't quite get that leg armor on completely, but you get the idea anyways. What Yamato did was they have you pinch it. So you have one piece that slides up like so. You get it in a spot, and then you just pinch it on by clipping on the other pylon. And there you go. Alright, so there you can see the crotch armor falling off the V1. As you can see, the Takatoku has a big cutout for the doors swinging open. Oh, let's never mind that for a second here. If you don't put your hand down and push, won't be a problem. Alright, so there's the missile detail inside the chest cavity. Obviously not particularly good. And then you have a hinge on top, and you just pop that open, and there's the missile detail in the shoulder bay. On the Yamato, you have kind of a hidden hinge, so you slide forward a little bit, and then there's the shoulder missile detail. And they don't have a big gap in the chest. It slides forward and opens like so. And you can see a little bit better missile detail. There are no removable grenades in the arms or hips on either one of these toys. And as I pointed out earlier, the Yamato does have opening missile bays in the leg. So let's compare now the V1 to the 148 scale toy, and then the V2. Up next to the party was Yamato's 148 GBP toy, which upped the level in a lot of ways. First and foremost, these toys featured individual missiles. So you got all the trapdoors that open like the version 160 toy, but now you got individual missiles. Also on the hips, you got grenades that could be taken apart and then reassembled and put in the hand. So you actually got hip grenades that were functional, and even the little grenades inside the arm come out. So lots of detail there. Alright, let's get into how things were assembled as well. We'll start with the waist diaper area, as I like to call it. First, Yamato gave you the option to use either a full-size nose cone, or you could take the nose cone off and use a shorter armor piece to cover the nose cone. Let's see here. Just slides into place. Little peg that keeps it there. Sadly, after the version 1 toy, you would think that Yamato would be really cautious about crotch armors falling off, but on the 148 toy, that's still a problem. And then they unified the diaper, so there are now separate pieces that go over the legs, but there's also a separate piece that goes around the back that wraps around a little ring in the waist armor to form one piece out of several. So this piece now just connects on like so, also wrapping around that round piece on the crotch armor. If I can get it in the right spot. As with everything. Easier to do when you don't have cameras and all light in front of you. Alright, so that's all linked. So now you can see you can move the leg and it moves on the diaper. So that's an improvement over the original toy, although still somewhat needlessly complex. I'll get into that in a bit. And then this hip armor piece just connects on the side. Next we'll go on to the leg. Oh, before I do that, let's point out that the Yamato 148 also came with side covers for the Batroid mode. You just slip those into place as you're transforming the toy. It also has a neck cover, which I will show you in a moment. But first, the leg now has one more part to it, the center part, so you don't have a seam running up the center anymore, which is the only real improvement that that brings. You slip this on, so this is 4 parts now that come together. It's a little easier to do if you have them taken apart a little more, but as you can see, you can slide it on, no problem. The shoulder missile now has a trap door, so you can move the arm around and create the illusion that the armor is tracking it, which is nice. So that just goes on like so. It is kind of cartoonishly large though, and that's really the big problem with the Yamato 148 is the proportions seem to be kind of out of whack. Okay, another problem is those grenades on the hips. The way that they're put together, they can fall apart like mine just did. But I'll deal with that later. And the fist, for some reason it's a square peg that goes into a round hole. So that's an odd engineering choice. Alright, so the final thing here. The pylon on the back has an attachment that wraps around the toy, which locks the wings shut, but really pinches it on, so you know it's not going anywhere. And also, this is the first toy that was engineered with super parts in mind to begin with. So now there's a tab that just goes right into the backpack. Guess I should have put that on first. Like so. You can see that part that reaches around there, grabbing on. So now, with the way that this is all attached, there's no way that backpack can fall down. But Yamato didn't stop there. Like I said earlier, you get a neck cover. That neck cover fills in right there. It's pinched by the head closing. And then you get your little swing arm that comes back and grabs the backpack, locking it into place. As I mentioned before, you do have all the same trap doors. Same idea. It slides forward so it conceals the hinge. Then you have the removable missiles, which in practice are kind of more of a pain in the butt than they're worth. And then you have, on this giant chest, it swings forward like the V1 did, but it also brings the missiles with it. You can see the missiles moving a little bit there, which is a nice touch. But again, a little silly, and it made the chest huge. So while very imposing, the proportions were a little off on this toy. I still think it looks great on a display shelf, but you know, line art accuracy wise, maybe not the best. All right, let's check out the V2 toy now. Finally, we have the 160 V2 toy, which in many ways is just a simplified version of the 148 GBP toy. On the 160 V2, you didn't have a swivel at the waist, and so what Yamato was able to do was just give you one solid piece for the front of the diaper, and there's also one piece that goes along the back. You just put it on like so. You no longer have the swivels at the hips. You didn't need them. And then you had these intake covers that come on across the top. You get them into place. A little tricky because they kind of run into that side cover, same side cover idea that you saw on the 148 toys. Here, I'm going to just go ahead and go off screen for a moment here because these things are a lot easier to put on off screen. Alright, so that goes on like so, and then you bring in the side cover and you just clip everything together. Okay, I'm not even going to bother with the other side, you get the idea. On the shoulder missiles, like I said, simplified version of the 148. You don't have that armor cover anymore. You don't really need it. The missiles all have the pre-painted detail, but they're no longer removable individually. Just slides on just like you had with the 148 toy. The chest cover was only off so I could show you the waist mechanism. This just kind of slides in, clips on. Nothing very exciting there. I'll do some fine tuning in a bit. You actually get foot covers now because these feet look a little dainty for a GBP toy. So you can just clip on these foot covers and give them a little thickness. Just like that. And I don't think I mentioned it on the 148 toy, but these are adjustable on the pylons on the back. And then finally there was also a special version of the 160V2 GBP that came with missile firing effects that you could just clip on top of the missile to make it look like the missiles were firing out, which is kind of a cool gimmick. Alright, so there you have it. That is the evolution of the GBP toy. Again, sorry I didn't finish with this 160V2. Obviously, big improvements have been made. The simplification of the waist also showed that kind of the Garwalk joint is all you need in Batroid mode. So even though you would think maybe this would limit articulation a little bit, that this doesn't swivel, it really doesn't hinder it nearly as much as you would think. In fact, I can't recall once thinking that it was really hindering anything. And since these intakes do have a notch out of the side, you can still go real wide stance with them like you see there. Alright, thanks for viewing. Visit anymoon.com for line art comparisons on all these toys and a full write-up of each one individually.